Found poetry is a type of poetry created by taking words, phrases, and sometimes whole passages from other sources and reframing them as poetry by making changes in spacing and lines, or by adding or deleting text, thus imparting new meaning. The resulting poem can be defined as either treated, changed in a profound and systematic manner, or untreated, virtually unchanged from the order, syntax and meaning of the original. The concept of found poetry is closely connected to the revision of the concept of authorship in the 20th century. As John Hollander put it, anyone may find a text. The poet is he who names it, text. Comparisons and Predecessors. Mark Ives Stenzel describes the Dadaism movement with its ready-made philosophy as a predecessor for the practice that later became found poetry. Dadaists like Duchamp placed everyday practical objects in an environment that was aesthetic and in so doing called into question that object as art, the observer, the aesthetic environment and the definition of what is art. Stylistically, found poetry is similar to the visual art of appropriation in which two- and three-dimensional art is created from recycled items, giving ordinary commercial things new meaning when put within a new context and unexpected combinations or juxtapositions. Examples. An example of found poetry appeared in William Whewell's An Elementary Treatise on Mechanics. In 2003, Slate writer Hart Seeley found poetry in the speeches and news briefings of Donald Rumsfeld. In a transcript of a Department of Defense news briefing from February 12, 2002, Rumsfeld ruminated on the unknown. Hart Seeley published Rumsfeld's poetry in the book, Pieces of Intelligence, The Existential Poetry of Donald H. Rumsfeld. American composer Phil Klein set Rumsfeld's lyrics to music in Rumsfeld's Songs, a song cycle released on Zippo Songs. Pianist Bryant Kong also used Rumsfeld's lyrics on his release Poetry of Donald Rumsfeld. In 2009, on The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien, the talk show host twice asked actor William Shatner to deliver the written words of former Alaskan governor and vice presidential nominee Sarah Palin in the style of beat poetry. Shatner performed Palin's farewell speech on July 27, and several of her tweets on July 29. Shatner was supported by a bongo player and double bassist. Another well-known example of a public figure's speech being converted into found poetry was the baseball play calls of Phil Rizzuto. Rizzuto was the announcer for the New York Yankees baseball team for some 40 years, and some of his at times rambling or disjointed commentary was collected and reformatted by Hart Seeley and Tom Payer into a collection of Rizzuto's found poetry. An example is Rizzuto's thoughts on the death of Yankees catcher Thurman Munson in an airplane crash. The website Verbatim Poetry has been publishing found poems weekly since March 2009. It emphasizes the poetry found in ordinary places, and employs traditional poetic forms such as the Shakespearean sonnet as well as free verse. The Internet's first formal literary journal devoted to found poetry, the Found Poetry Review, debuted in 2011. Since its inception, the quarterly journal has featured traditional centers and poems taken from textbooks, Marcel Duchamp paintings, Charles Manson's trial testimony, AOL search data, Emily Post's etiquette books, Wikipedia articles, Strunk and White's The Elements of Style, Wonder Woman comics and more. Comedian Dave Gorman frequently creates comical found poems using the idiotic things that people have said on online forums. See also, Dictionary Stories, Found Object. References